Good morning, everyone. Yeah, good morning. I'm Dr. Bharti Singh, and I'm delighted to welcome you all to today's webinar, which is on the topic Lifestyle for Environment, and it's organized by Dibha Foundation. And I'm glad to introduce our speaker for today, Mr. Sukrit Joshi. Sukrit Joshi is an expert in the fields of energy, environment, and sustainable development with a research interest spanning the intersection of development, climate change, and energy security. He is currently associated with Energy Infratech, which is a leading engineering consultancy in the energy and environment sector. Previously, he also worked with the Research and Information Center for Developing Countries, an autonomous organization under the Ministry of Central Affairs, New Delhi. Prior to that, he was a researcher at the Energy and Resource Institute at TERI, Delhi. So, without any further delay, let's hand it over to Sukrit. Sukrit, over to you.
Uh, Thank you, Bharti. Firstly, I just want to check if I'm audible.
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay. Thank you so much, Bharti, for giving me such a gracious introduction. I'll just quickly share my screen. Mm, is my screen shared? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So, first of all, I will welcome all of you. Namaskar. Good afternoon. Um, Dibha has been, I have been associated with Dibha last 6 months, and Dibha has been working, the foundation has been working in the area of health, education, and skill development. And this is already their third webinar which they are conducting. I attended the first one that was on dental health. The second one was on mental health, and both of them were really uh, filled with information and really nice webinars. When Dipanita, one of the other co-founders, spoke to me that we should do something on environment and climate change because these are concepts that are slightly far away from the common man. Now it is becoming more and more uh, become much more closer to our daily lives. So how do we demystify these concepts? And I was wondering, this is a big ocean to dive into. So something that we can pick up from our day-to-day lives, something on lifestyles, maybe we can explore. And hence the title also came with this, the lifestyles for environment. What kind of lifestyles we should have? What are the small changes that we can make for having a big impact? And uh, very the government of India also has a program behind it. It's called Mission Life. They have uh, they have made an acronym out of it that is LIFE, Lifestyles for Environment. So with that, I also suggested this title could be used for this webinar. So I'll maybe digress a little bit and I'll tell you about the story of Sisyphus. So this is part of a Greek mythology, and Sisyphus was one of the heroes in that mythology. And he was condemned to eternally roll a boulder uphill. So he would start at the bottom each morning, reach the top by night, only to find it back at the bottom by morning. And this cycle would repeat each day. uh, why would Sisyphus do that? That is not important. But the idea was that this act by Sisyphus was used as a metaphor for human struggle. So even in the face of impossibility, we can find meaning through our attitudes towards the struggle. Such is also the case of environment action or climate change action. There is the rock, a rock as big as climate change, as big as environmental action, as big as protecting our environment. And we as individuals are Sisyphus who are trying to understand what can we do best. हमारी डे टू डे लाइफ में क्या सबसे बेस्ट एक्शन होगा जो हम कर सकते हैं so that this rock stays at the top and we end up not having to push it every day in the morning again. So the problem might seem very huge, but to understand the problem, to find solutions, you have to understand the problem a little better. And hence this concept of planetary boundaries come. Planetary boundaries kya hain? Like the name suggests, they are boundaries. They are boundaries that are Earth Earth's safety limits. They are like uh, some safety limits that we shouldn't cross if we want the planet to be healthy. अगर हम चाहते हैं that हमारी biodiversity सही, प्लांट्स सही रहें, एनिमल्स सही रहें, हमारे आने वाले जनरेशन्स को वही एयर ब्रीथ करने को मिले जो सेफ रहे, वही वाटर मिले, वही लाइक वही एनवायरमेंटल कंडीशंस मिले जहाँ पे दे कैन बी हैप्पी. Otherwise there is no use. So these are, so scientists came up and they defined these safety limits. There are 9 safety limits that were identified. Climate change, biodiversity loss, freshwater use, land use are some of these. Out of these 9, 6 boundaries we have already breached. The planet has already breached these limits, safety limits. हमने ये cross already कर चुके हैं. अगर आप इसको एक ह्यूमन बॉडी का एग्जाम्पल लें, we there are the earth is the human body, and we have the heart, we have the lungs, we have other organs. Just imagine if the entire human body, there is an organ failure and we are only surviving out of, from these 9 essential organs, only surviving on 3 of them. How difficult it is. So these planetary boundaries are very, they are being regulated, they are being monitored every year, and a report comes out each year telling that how much of now is left remaining to be breached. So out of the 9, 6 have already breached. Another concept that you, some of you may be familiar with, आप लोगों को शायद पता हो, शायद नहीं पता हो, but I'll explain to you, is that is the concept of carbon footprint. What is carbon footprint? Carbon footprint is the total amount of greenhouse gases released into the air because of your actions. And what are these greenhouse gases? ये क्या हैं these gases? We know some of them. Carbon dioxide, like, is a greenhouse gas. But what do they exactly do? So greenhouse gases are gases in the atmosphere which trap the heat from the sun and keep our planet warm. तो ये अच्छी हैं, बुरी हैं, are these good? Essentially they are good, because अगर ये नहीं होती तो planet would freeze. Essentially it would freeze. So these greenhouse gases actually help in regulating the warmth of the planet. बट जब ये इनका कॉन्सेंट्रेशन एक्सेसिवली बढ़ जाता है, जब एक लिमिट से ज्यादा हो जाता है, सो इट स्टार्ट्स द वार्मिंग ऑफ द प्लैनेट, एंड देन इट इज अ कैस्केडिंग इफेक्ट. इट इज एक बारी वार्मिंग होगी, ये गैसेस और हीट ट्रैप करेंगी और ज्यादा वार्मिंग होगी. सो carbon dioxide, methane, SF6, there are around 9 to 10 greenhouse gases. जिसमें से 6 are being monitored by the international bodies. एंड इनका एमिशन, इनका मेजरमेंट ही कार्बन फुटप्रिंट कहलाता है. सो calculating the carbon footprint means how are you trying to emit these greenhouse gases, how your lifestyle is emitting these greenhouse gases, and changes in your lifestyles can reduce these emissions, and and by measuring them on a daily, on a yearly basis, you can also see that maybe some impact that some changes that you are making in your lifestyle can lead to a positive impact. So how you travel, how you eat, what you buy, and how you use your energy, इन सब से आपको अपना एक कार्बन फुटप्रिंट का कैलकुलेशन मिल सकता है, and you can over a period of time measure it, and you can see that some of the changes that you are making in your life are for the better. So I thought I'll just also make you go through one of the carbon footprint calculators that is available freely, and आप लोग use भी कर सकते हैं, देख भी सकते हैं. So if you can see my screen, this is a carbon footprint calculator. Uh, this calculator is freely available. They are for individuals also, and some small businesses can also use it. अगर आप कोई business चलाते हैं, तो you can also use it for your business. I'll just explain to you through the individual portal. So when you click on the individual section, the page loads. So if you see, इसमें input कैसे type के हैं? There is electricity, there is natural gas, there is fuel, there is cars, flights, public transports. So all these are basically inputs. All these are basically lifestyle changes that may uh, increase your greenhouse gas emissions at an individual level. And उसके basis पर एक आपका number calculate आएगा. I'll just give an example. जैसे अगर हम electricity use करें, तो हम इसमें अपना country select कर लें. And then it asks us the question, do you know your energy provider's emissions per kilowatt hour? That means आपको क्या पता है कि आपके जो energy provider है, that is the local electricity जहाँ से आपको मिलती है, उसका क्या emission है? If it's a no, then you may go ahead with putting the usage. मतलब आप एक महीने में या एक साल में कितनी electricity use करते हैं, उसके आप units डाल सकते हैं. अगर आपको पता है, अगर आपके बिल में आता है, तो आप उसको इसमें मेंशन कर सकते हैं, एंड देन यू कैन पुट द नंबर. So for India, the electricity emission factor is 0.757. That this is the number, this is the amount that we take from the grid. That means एक यूनिट ऑफ इलेक्ट्रिसिटी यूज करने में 0.757 ग्राम्स कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड इक्विवेलेंट एमिट होता है. जैसे मान लीजिए मैं महीने में 500 यूनिट्स एनर्जी इलेक्ट्रिसिटी यूज करता हूँ, तो 500 यहाँ पे मैं डालता हूँ, एंड देन मैं इसको कैलकुलेट एंड ऐड टू फुटप्रिंट कर सकता हूँ. Similarly, you have other entries also. अगर हम फ्लाइट्स में देखें, so it depends on, आपने देखा होगा when you book your flight, there are multiple routes that are shown, and हर route में दिखाया जाता है कि इस route में what is the emission that will incur on the traveler. क्या emission आप स्पेंड करेंगे जब आप ये वाला रूट लेंगे. एंड कभी कभार हम देखते हैं कि जो सबसे कम एमिशन वाला होता है वो ज्यादा महंगा होता है, एंड वी जस्ट गो फॉर बेस्ड ऑन the price of the ticket, we may end up emitting more. That is something which is not in our hands, because we always prefer more cheaper tickets than the emission. But maybe we can do some kind of trade off. Maybe the prices are close by and we can go for a better flight which emits less. So similarly, इसमें भी departure airport and कौन सा destination airport है, flight class, the number of passengers, and you can calculate and add and calculate your footprint. जब ये हम total sheet भर देंगे based on what all we use, how we use, एक हमारा final result आएगा in the results, and it will show us, like for instance अभी मैंने सिर्फ electricity भरा है, it's showing us 0.21 tons carbon equivalent. ये जो कैलकुलेटर है, दिस कैलकुलेट्स एन एनुअल कार्बन फुटप्रिंट. तो आपका लास्ट 12 years में जो कार्बन फुटप्रिंट रहा है उसको आप कैलकुलेट कर सकते हो यूजिंग दिस कैलकुलेटर. So right now, since I've only put for electricity, when I fill for others, I'll get the total carbon footprint of all my actions that I have done in the last 12 months. So maybe you can try this carbon footprint calculator and compare over the year कि आपने कितना आपके carbon emissions, individual emissions कम हुए हैं. And it's not half करना है या one, but जितना चाहे आप उसको कम कर सकते हैं. ज़्यादा important ये है कि हम जो lifestyle option choose करते हैं वो वो इससे हमें उसको choose करने में help मिल सकती है. Maybe we'll get to know कि ये पर्टिकुलर चीज करने से हमारे ज्यादा कार्बन एमिशंस है, ज्यादा कार्बन फुटप्रिंट है. मे बी हम इस दूसरे पाथ में जाए जहाँ पे एमिशंस कम हो रहे हैं, वहाँ पे हमारे कार्बन फुटप्रिंट कम होगी. सो स्मॉल स्टेप्स make the bigger brings out the bigger picture. So when we talk about lifestyles, a lot of people look at their food habits, and this is another data that I found on the internet, very interesting. What are the kind of emissions per 100 gram of protein for different food groups? And even I was surprised that dark chocolate, which we all love, and coffee has one of the highest emissions. However, when I read it, मैंने थोड़ा और इस पे रिसर्च किया, तो ये पता चला that these are not just about consuming these foods, it is also about the production of these foods. जैसे coffee is mostly grown in tropical regions, जहाँ पर बहुत ज़्यादा amount of nitrogen fertilizers use होते हैं, and that is the reason why इनके production में एंड इवेंचुअल कंजम्पशन में हमारा कार्बन फुटप्रिंट बढ़ सकता है, हम लोग ज़्यादा एमिट कर रहे हैं. Similarly, chocolate के केस में the land use change of the entire production cycle that changes. क्योंकि जो probably हम लोग हमको chocolate के the raw material, the cocoa that we use, उसको produce करने में जो भी land use change करना पड़ेगा, उसके लिए हमको उतना emission और बढ़ाना पड़ेगा. So both these things which we love dearly may be contributing to our larger carbon footprint. बट एक चीज इसमें ध्यान रखिए, हम ये इतना ज़्यादा कंज्यूम नहीं करते जितना हम मे बी कोई और प्रोडक्ट कंज्यूम कर रहे हैं. फॉर इंस्टेंस सम नॉन वेजिटेरियन आइटम्स लाइक लैम्ब, प्रॉन्स, मे बी मीट. सो दोज हैव हाई प्रोटीन एंड हेंस उसका कंजम्पशन क्योंकि ज़्यादा है, ज़्यादा क्वांटिटीज़ में है, इसलिए नेट एमिशंस, नेट कार्बन फुटप्रिंट उसके ज़्यादा होंगे. कॉफ़ी हम शायद बहुत ज़्यादा नहीं पी रहे, or maybe pee भी रहे हैं, but not as much as we are consuming these food products. If you see that uh, a vegetarian kind of diet from this graph is 10 to 50 times smaller. The emissions coming from vegetarian products, plant-based foods, is 10 to 50 times smaller than those from animal products. This is a food for thought. Quite, I mean, pun intended, but this is a food for thought that हम कैसे अपने probably in a small at a small scale. I am not saying कि हम अपने completely food lifestyle change करें and we switch from a non-vegetarian heavy lifestyle to a vegetarian heavy lifestyle. But जितना हम कर सकते हैं to reduce that load on our planet, we should. So a little mindfulness is all what is required. A dripping tap causes a loss of 15 to 20 liters of water overnight. अगर हम इसको over the month देखें, so it is approximately 500 liters, which is enough drinking water for a family of 4 people for weeks. So आपके घर में अगर कोई leaking tap है, please correct it because that much water can actually sustain your drinking water needs for some weeks. The extra t-shirt you buy that you don't even need uses up to 2700 liters of water during its manufacturing phase. Now itna pani, 2700 liters of water is what we actually end up drinking for 2.5 years. This is an estimate. 2700 liters of water is our drinking water requirement of a single person only for 2.5 years. So imagine one extra t-shirt that we are buying, which we probably don't even need, makes up for 2.5 years of our drinking water requirements. When we see this in areas जहाँ पर पानी की कमी है या फिर जहाँ पे लोगों को drinking water नहीं मिल रहा है, that one t-shirt is the reason probably that they are not able to afford that. 10 minutes of showering is 100 liters of water. जब आप morning में shower लेते हैं and if you shower for like 10 minutes आराम से धीरे धीरे that also consumes a lot of water, 100 liters of water. मे बी हम इसको थोड़ा कम कर दें, मे बी हम इसको इस टाइम को 8 मिनट्स कर दें या 5 मिनट्स कर दें. एक 5 मिनट्स करने से 50 liters ऑफ वाटर हम सेव कर सकते हैं. 50 liters ऑफ वाटर विल कंपाउंड टू 1500 liters ऑफ वाटर सेव्ड इन अ मंथ. एंड अगर ये 4 लोग हैं आपके फैमिली में और वो चारों ये फॉलो करें तो दिस विल बिकम 6000 liters ऑफ वाटर सेव्ड इन अ मंथ just by shortening your shower from 10 minutes to 8 minutes or to 5 minutes. I mean, this is just a small thing that we can rectify in our daily life. Every 1 degree decrease in temperature thermostat setting below 24 degrees in your AC increases power consumption by 6 to 10%. नाउ ये इसमें हम हमारी गवर्नमेंट ने भी काफ़ी डायरेक्शंस दिए थे. इनफैक्ट आई रिमेंबर कुछ साल पहले 2020 में when we were all in the COVID phase, government had mandated that हमारे जो एयर कंडीशनर्स बन के आएंगे फ्रॉम द मार्केट विच वी बाय, उसका एक डिफॉल्ट टेम्परेचर सेट कर देना चाहिए विच इज 24 डिग्री सेल्सियस. At 24 degrees Celsius, the AC works the most optimum. ये काफ़ी कामयाब रहा इनिशियली बिकॉज उससे पहले ऐसा कोई भी रूल नहीं था कि टेम्परेचर कितना होना चाहिए, क्या होना चाहिए. बट स्टिल वी हैड आवर the AC remotes in our hand. We could bring it down to 18 degrees Celsius or 16 degrees Celsius. And that is waste of power because only जब वो उस टेम्परेचर में पहुंचेगा the condenser will switch off and then the harmful gases that are GHG gases, which we call them, that are emitting from the AC condenser will come down. So also the power that is getting consumed in the process. So वो भी एक तरह से इतना successful नहीं रहा. But now there is a draft proposal that has come out from the government that what they are planning to do is they are planning to fix that range. That means below 20 degrees and above 28 degrees, that range of 20 to 28 degrees Celsius fix कर दिया है कि below 20 degrees टेम्परेचर नहीं जा सकता एसी का और above 28 degrees टेम्परेचर हम नहीं बढ़ा सकते. So that is also a positive step in that light. But as an individual, जो अभी ये proposal नहीं implement हुआ है, अभी ACs को हम कैसे भी कर सकते हैं. As individuals, we must target to keep our ACs at the optimum temperature of 24 degrees. Over 1 billion trees are cut down annually for cardboard packaging worldwide, driven heavily by e-commerce. Now, ये e-commerce में जो हम shopping करते हैं, जो हम Amazon, Flipkart, Myntra, all kinds of shopping that we carry out, Swiggy, Big Basket, Blinkit, they all come, the packaging material are all either cardboard based or they are those plastic bags. So although now because of recent sustainability practices जो companies ने adopt करी हैं, they are coming with alternative options. But still, there is a cost even to produce that, and that cost in terms of the environmental cost is impacting us. Everything can't be 100% plastic free. That is true. Everything can't be 100% cardboard free. Even for cardboard, like this statistic says, 1 billion trees are cut. सो हम इसमें क्या छोटी छोटी चीज़ें कर सकते हैं. दीज आर इनसे खरीदना बंद नहीं, मेरे हिसाब से हम ये भी नहीं कर सकते हम कंप्लीटली बंद करें. येस, वी शुड गो टू आवर लोकल ग्रोसरी स्टोर एज मच एज वी कैन. बट कभी कभार कन्वीनियंस के लिए, कभी कभार हमको इंस्टेंटली कुछ चाहिए होता है, वी हैव टू डिपेंड ऑन ई कॉमर्स प्लेटफॉर्म्स. So we should, there is always an option if you see Swiggy mein that refuse the cutlery or refuse certain kind of packaging. Amazon में there is an option where we can combine the orders. So एक हमको बड़े box में मिल जाएगा rather than getting in small boxes. So these kind of tips we can use. But I would say most importantly, we need to think about it. We need to relook कि क्या हमें वो item की actually में ज़रूरत है, or is it just to satisfy that momentarily dopamine जो हम click करके बस वो एकदम से आ जाता है and we are happy for that instant and then maybe we don't even use that. So the heart of the problem, the core of the problem lies in our mindset, that is of how we are consuming, what we are consuming, and do we even need it. मैं ये नहीं कह रहा हम साधु बन जाए, हम बिल्कुल छोड़ दें, त्याग दें, but as much as sustainable we can be, as much as we can think, do we, before buying or before purchasing, consuming anything, do we need that item? Is it of any utility for us? Think about it. अगर हम वो conquer कर लें, then I don't think we will have any problem in moving towards a sustainable and an environment friendly lifestyle. एक मैं आपको example बताता हूँ. There was this girl in US, Lauren Singer. she was also known as the zero waste girl. एंड वो बहुत एक वायरल सेंसेशन बन गई एंड उसका इंटरव्यू भी आया एंड शी टोल्ड द वर्ल्ड दैट हाउ ओवर द लास्ट 2 to 2.5 years उसने अपना पूरा वेस्ट एक छोटे से जार फिल करा. So the picture that is seen on this slide is is that jar जिसमें उसका पूरा waste pack हो सका. And uh, this included all the waste that she couldn't recycle, she couldn't compost. There was waste that was created, no doubt, but everything she could recycle, she could compost, or she could give away for secondary usage. उसको किसी और चीज में यूज कर लिया. So, but the rest of it, she was able to pack in this little jar. And when she was asked that, how did you do that? And firstly, why did you do that? That was very clear because she saw so much of plastic, so much of packaging material, so much of waste that she things that she didn't need and was thrown in the dustbin as waste. So when she was asked, how did you do it? How did you manage it? She said the first thing that I did is I went to my dustbin, my kitchen where my dustbin is, where I segregate my waste, and I saw that do these things जो we as which end up as waste, जो जो चीजें मैं दिन भर यूज करती हूँ, do I really need it? According to me also, is that we should check our dustbins. We should check कि क्या वो item जो मैंने अपने dustbin में डाला है, especially the dry waste, क्योंकि wet waste is something जो
It's
vegetables
a
वो
good
सब
picture,
तो
good.
क्या वो item हमें चाहिए, क्या उसकी जरूरत है, and then try to start your journey of managing your waste, of managing your consumption, of not going for maybe that sabzi wale ke yahan se polythene bag. Carry your own cloth bag instead. Single use plastic को बिल्कुल मना कर दीजिए. A while, I mean, a year back, I also made this very. I love having coffee from the stores, and I stopped using those plastic straws. I used to carry my own steel straw, and उसके साथ एक cleaner भी मिलता है, so they could be reused again and again. And these are some of the things that you can go for. You can say no to plastic straws. You can take your own steel straw. You can take your own coffee mug. So अगर आपको मन है बाहर कहीं पे कॉफी पीने के लिए, you can take your own coffee mug. In fact, they give you a discount if you bring your own coffee mug. So why not? It acts both ways. It reduces the an extra plastic mug or extra paper mug, and you get a discount. So it's a win-win situation in both cases. Okay, so now coming to the next part, which is on climate change, and this is something which is really a big, heavy word. And I mean, the question comes here: how many of us think that climate change affects our daily life? Because there is a difference between climate and weather. Weather is जो हम अभी महसूस कर रहे हैं on a daily basis. Climate जो है वो एक long term process है. 30 years में जो change हो रहा है. That is what those parameters are clubbed into what is called climate. अगर हम एक सिंगल डे को देखें, ओके आज धूप निकली है, आज बारिश हो रही है, दैट इज वेदर जो हम एवरी डे ट्रैक कर रहे हैं. बट जो ओवर अ लॉन्ग पीरियड ट्रैक हो रहा है, दैट इज क्लाइमेट. बट क्या ये लॉन्ग पीरियड वाला जो ट्रैकिंग है हमारे डे टू डे लाइफ को इम्पैक्ट कर रहा है? दैट इज समथिंग वी हैव टू थिंक अबाउट. एंड आई थिंक इट इज बिकॉज आप देखो हमारे जो समर्स हैं वो और वार्म हो गए हैं. Our winters have become colder. The intensity of uh, of these seasons have increased. Their duration has reduced. So ऐसा नहीं था 10 years back. ऐसा नहीं था. I myself feel it when I was studying. I never felt I could walk from the metro station to my college, walk back. But now things are difficult. We require an air conditioned environment, at least where I am staying in Delhi. It's so warm. Similarly, in places where rainfall used to be we knew कि okay ये this particular time of this rainfall has become so erratic वो time period reduce हो गया monsoon has arrived early. Delhi में अभी आया नहीं है but they say that it will come 10 days before. So these are all linked to something happening in the background, and that something is what we call climate change. That's something. There are multiple things, but we collectively call these phenomenon climate change. मैंने आपको टेम्परेचर राइज का बताया. ये टेम्परेचर राइज क्यों इम्पोर्टेंट है? 1 डिग्री सेल्सियस भी अगर टेम्परेचर बढ़ेगा because of these activities, because of climate change, what will it, how will it impact? First picture, left side में, which is on the mass nesting of sea turtles at the Odisha coast. So these are olive ridley turtles. अगर आप लोग उड़ीसा नहीं गए हैं तो please go during the nesting period. You may not be able to go very close because there are restrictions, because that's where they nest. But there are places where you can see these the nesting grounds of these turtles and actual nesting happening. And the mass nesting of olive ridley turtles is actually influenced by temperature. जब उनका जब when they lay their eggs during their incubation time, a temperature of 28 degrees Celsius that favors that the egg will hatch into a male turtle. Temperature of 31.5 degrees Celsius will lead to a female turtle. So the gender of the turtle that is coming out from the egg is temperature sensitive. वो टेम्परेचर पे डिसाइड होगा. अगर 28 डिग्री सेल्सियस है तो मेल होगा, अगर 31.5 डिग्री सेल्सियस है तो फीमेल होगा. तो एक बहुत ही नैरो रेंज है फॉर द डिटर्मिनेशन ऑफ द सेक्स ऑफ द टर्टल. एंड 1:1 सेक्स रेशियो मेंटेन करने के लिए जो ऑप्टिमम टेम्परेचर है दैट इज 29.5 डिग्री सेल्सियस. मतलब 1 डिग्री और 1.5 to 2 डिग्री चेंज भी हो ड्यूरिंग दैट पीरियड ऑफ nesting, the gender of the turtle will change. Very interesting, very fascinating. But also to think about, if there is a climate change happening in the background, and over the years this trend follows, the temperature is rising. Eventually, all the turtles that will be coming out from the eggs will be females. It will be good to start with, more than female population, more number of eggs. But over a period of time, this will decline the population of these turtles. Their genetic diversity will decline, and eventually we will find that the sea turtles will go extinct. So this is a major threat to these turtles. The Nicobar megapode, this is also known as a thermometer bird. This is found in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, and they also maintain the temperature of their nest externally. Unlike other birds who sit on their eggs, they maintain the temperature externally. How do they do that? They organize sand, mud, and organic debris around their eggs, and using the microbial activity within the mound, मतलब उसके अंदर जो microbes हैं, वो जो mound बनता है, उसको मॉनिटर करते हैं, एंड उसके वजह से जो टेम्परेचर चेंज होता है उसको वो मेंटेन करते हैं. सो उनको चाहिए टेम्परेचर 33 डिग्री सेल्सियस. एंड अगर ये टेम्परेचर हल्का चेंज होगा, देन it will lead to death of those eggs. So for them also, any change in temperature, even a 1 degree Celsius change in temperature, is very critical to the survival of their eggs. Last is the wheat output, with the impacts of which we directly face. Higher temperatures can trim the wheat output, and already there are innumerable studies around the world. In India also, there was a study carried out, and it was shown that even a single degree, 1 degree rise in the mean temperatures reduces the wheat yield by 4 to 6 million tons. मतलब मतलब 4 to 6 million tons रिडक्शन हो जाएगा हमारे वीट आउटपुट पे, हमारे स्टॉक्स में, एंड वी आर एन एग्रेरियन सोसाइटी. तो इमेजिन द प्लाइट ऑफ द फार्मर्स, द एंटायर हमारा जो हमारा जो स्टॉक है, जो हमारी प्राइसेस उससे इम्पैक्ट होंगे, द एंटायर इकोनॉमी विल इवेंचुअली सफर. सो this 1 degree, this climate change is very much linked to our daily day-to-day life. So I'll now a little एक analogy से आपको explain करता हूँ that how we are impacted because of climate change. This analogy is the boiling frog analogy, and I will share a video. So let me know if you can hear the video.
Yeah, it's audible. Yeah.
Okay.
Two frogs are minding their own business in the swamp when what of a menacing chef. He boils a pot and lobs one of the frogs in, but it's having none of this. The second its toes hit the scalding water, it jumps right out the window. The chef refills the pot, but this time he doesn't turn on the heat. He plops the second frog in, and this frog's okay with that. The chef turns the heat on very low, and the temperature of the water slowly rises. So slowly that the frog doesn't notice. In fact, it basks in the balmy water. Only when the surface begins to bubble does the frog realize it's toast. What's funny about this parable is that it's not scientifically true for frogs. In reality, a frog will detect slowly heating water and leap to safety. Humans, on the other hand, are a different story. We're perfectly happy to sit in the pot and slowly turn up the heat, all the while insisting it isn't our hand on the dial, arguing about whether we can trust thermometers, and questioning, even if they're right, does it matter? It does.
Okay, so I'll stop here. So, can anyone tell me uh, who is the frog in this story? In this analogy, इसमें frog कौन है? You can answer that. No one?
So in chat box, like
Yes.
I think
Yes.
maximum
Us.
have
Yes.
written
Okay.
human.
Good. Yes, it is us. We are the frogs. And the boiling pot of water is our earth. So we are not the frogs actually. We can't jump off the water like what it was told in the video. We will actually not be able to survive the heat. Another picture that explains we are all on the same boat, and we cannot say that, oh, the hole is not on our side, हमारे तरफ नहीं है, हम sink नहीं करेंगे. For a boat, even if there is a hole in a small hole also at one side, the entire boat will sink. So this is not just our action, this is a collective action. All of us have to come together and collectively fight this. So now we'll play a small game. The How green are we? So there are a total of 15 questions. We have 3 rounds. And if you think that you are doing this, if it's a yes, if you can answer the question by yes, you give yourself 1 mark. If no, then no marks. And let's see how many questions, how many points we win. Let's see. Let's try to challenge ourselves. And even if we have less points, that doesn't mean that we are not better off or हम लोग ये गेम हार गए. This is not a game per se, but what improvements we need. That is what we have to look at. Okay. So everybody can maybe mentally calculate their points, or if you want, you can write it down. आप लिख सकते हैं paper or pen में. First is I switch off fans, lights, AC when I leave the room. Uh, Very important. Some of us sometimes it's like अरे kitchen तक ही तो जा रहा हूँ, but even that matters. You don't know kitchen तक जाने और आने के बीच में आप कितना टाइम लगेगा. किचन में आया, किचन से कहीं वॉशरूम चले गए, so it is a circle. Just switch it off as a habit. Okay, I hope everybody is making a note of it, of their responses. Second is I carry a reusable water bottle instead of buying packaged drinking water. Very important. Sometimes we are not, there is no way we are not carrying any bottle water. In those cases, I know it is difficult. प्यास प्यास बुझाने के लिए we have to depend on. But there is another thing you can do. You can walk up into a cafe. If it's clear, कोई मना नहीं करेगा पानी के लिए. Third thing, I carry my own shopping bag when I go grocery shopping. This is something we can do because we know we are going for shopping. We have a bag at home. We can carry one. I would say एक और चीज़ आप कर सकते हैं. आप अपनी कार में, अपनी व्हीकल में, जहाँ भी आप जिस भी जैसे if you are using a two-wheeler or a four-wheeler personal vehicle, आप अपने गाड़ी में कुछ bags रख सकते हैं. And keep it of all sizes so that it is easy. You know कि अच्छा कम सामान है तो छोटा वाला ले सकते हैं, ज़्यादा सामान है तो बड़ा वाला ले सकते हैं. I turn off the tap while brushing teeth or washing my hands. Again, very important. This is something that even I am guilty of. I don't do it. I don't do it, and my wife keeps telling me, turn off the tap, turn off the tap. We must turn off the tap, even if it means 5 seconds. Turn off the tap. If you remember that slide where I shared that around 15 to 20 liters of trickling water, imagine the tap in full speed. 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, कितना पानी waste होगा. I mostly avoid using the elevator for 1 to 2 floors and take the stairs. Again, very important.
Zero,
अगर
zero,
आप सीढ़ी
sir,
चढ़
zero.
सकते हैं, it serves two purposes. One, you don't need the elevator. You're not consuming. Second, you are also working on your own health. If you see, all the environment lifestyle tips that we have is actually helping your own health as well. Right from consumption of good food to small things like taking the stairs instead of the elevator. You're working on your health as well. आप अपनी health पे भी काम कर रहे हैं. Okay, we move to round two, the lifestyle habits. I don't buy clothes just because they are on sale or because I like them, even when I don't need them. Very important. ये जो marketing gimmicks हैं, 50% sale, 60% sale, they are very, very attractive. But we have to stay clear of it. We know one shirt is 2,700 liters of water. 2,700 liters of water is 2.5 years of your drinking water. So what is the trade-off here? आपको पता चल रहा है कि वो shirt लूँ या 2,700 liters of water save करूँ. Second, I donate, swap or upcycle old clothes. And इसमें I would like to mention that Dibha also has done a donation drive of old clothes. They are at it, and I'll request आप लोग whether remotely or in person इनके साथ associate होइए, donate your old clothes. If you are already doing it through some other agency, well and good. If not, if you need something, need someone, you can go for Dibha. I consciously try to buy local fruits, veggies over imported ones. Yes, now I believe even imported vegetables are being grown locally. So that's a good thing that we are having those some of the vegetables like avocado. एक fruit है जो पहले import होता था, अभी भी import होता है, but now it is also grown locally. But we should always aim for eating local. अगर आपके रीजन में कोई फ्रूट है या वेजिटेबल है जो मिल रहा है, गो फॉर दैट. डोंट गो फॉर, मे बी मेरी डाइटिशियन ने बोला कि मुझे यही फ्रूट खाना है. आस्क हर, इसका कोई लोकल वेरिएंट है जो मैं खा सकता हूँ या खा सकती हूँ? गो फॉर दैट. I try to use public transport, carpool whenever possible. In the case of our country, carpool, I would say, कम है. I mean, you अगर आप में से किसी को पता है कोई option, we used to have Uber में there was a share your ride kind of option, but अब वो नहीं है. Transport is really there and we must use it as much as we can. Last mile connectivity is an issue, but till that time, जब तक last mile नहीं होता, we must go for public transport. After that, जो भी convenient method है, uh, in all the tier 1, tier 2 cities, we have Uber, we have Ola. We should go for these. But till the last mile, as much as we can use public transport, we must use. I consciously reduce food waste at home. Food waste is one of the largest source of waste that is in our country. Unfortunately, our country is also ranking very low in the hunger index. That's the irony. So, in your own personal lives, try to reduce this kind of waste as much as you can. जितना आप food waste कम करोगे, maybe someone else will get that portion of food. So it's not just an environmental cause; it is also a social cause that you'll be working towards. And the last round, home and hygiene. I use soap or shampoo bars or refillable toiletries. This is something we must do. We should do. I Refillable toiletries are a very good way. There are options available. I will share some. I don't have the names right now, but I will share some of these options with you. I don't know हर city में ये available है या नहीं, but in Delhi, Mumbai, there are these options available. And uh, I mean, refillable may you are not just uh, working at reducing the packaging of that item that comes when your toiletry comes, but also you are reusing your existing containers. So there is a double positive impact. I collect grey water for reuse. Grey water is like, for instance, your RO water. अगर आपके घर में RO लगा हुआ है तो उसका जो एक waste water आता है, which can be reused for non-potable purpose. जिस पीने के अलावा, जैसे आपने पेड़ों में पानी डाल दिया या फिर आपने अपनी गाड़ी की सफाई उससे कर ली. So those kind of for those use you can really go for grey water. Black water is your toilet water that can't be used anywhere, but grey water can be used for toilet. So uh, accordingly you must reuse your grey water. I compost or plan to start composting. This is something that we must all do. Remember I told you about वो लड़की Lauren Singer. A lot of that waste that she was able to reduce was because of her good composting practices. Because हमारा ज़्यादा waste organic waste ही होता है. तो organic waste को dispose करने का best तरीका है to compost it. Composting के tips इनफैक्ट मेरे से ज़्यादा अच्छा आप लोगों के पास ऑलरेडी होंगे because of the amount of information available. And I'll also mention हमारे घर में हमारी moms who are interested in gardening, they would have a lot of ideas on composting. So I would request them, maybe after the session they can share those tips for all of us, including myself. I dry clothes naturally instead of using a dryer. Again, we are blessed. Our region is blessed with a lovely sun. Sometimes too much, but at least for drying purpose, it is sufficient. So we should always naturally dry our clothes as much as we can. Yes, कभी कभार monsoon में या during rainy season ऐसा period आता है जहाँ एक extended period of sun is missing. The cloud, it's cloudy. There's no sun. There are other ways you can maybe put it. You can during that time, you can maybe put it under the fan. But there is a natural drying process also that you can do uh, during that time. So as much as you can, limit yourself from dryers, from those machines which dry. That will be better. I reuse jars, cloth rags, and old T-shirts at home. This, I think, all of us will get 1 marks for. There is no denying that. Okay, I hope you have all calculated your scores. Please do that, and we'll see where we are. Also, if you have done it already, mention your score in the chat box. You can also mention if you're a sapling, you're a tree, or you're a forest. Look, we are not, all of us cannot be a forest, but if we are a sapling, tomorrow we'll, of course, be a forest. So think about it. Uh, you can start very small now. छोटी छोटी चीजें अपने change करिए. These 15 questions that came as a game are also tips that you can in your daily life. So, is there a forest in our amongst us? कोई forest है हमारे बीच में?
Yeah, we have a forest lying
Okay.
in, yeah, just one forest, I guess.
Oh, so there are many saplings, or many tree. Okay, tree. Good, good. So this is my final slide. Let us get the environmental Sisyphus out and find meaning in the everyday struggle. Everyday struggle for what? Everyday struggle for making our lives a little more planet friendly, a little more environment friendly. And in that process, improving our own lifestyle, not just for the planet, but for ourselves. Look, in the end, the planet is going to stay where it is. It is us who's getting impacted. The planet will be there. Even 100 years, 200 years, it will be where it is. But the impact of the planet on us, on the things we like, on the things we love, the forests, everything, that is something that is more that is like a death knell. So the problem seems very huge. We are बहुत डाउट होता है हमें यार आई एम जस्ट वन पर्सन व्हाट डिफरेंस कैन आई मेक मैं क्या कर पाऊंगा नो वी हैव टू रीथिंक द इम्पॉसिबल not everything that counts can be counted we have to find meaning in the struggle we must imagine that person who's pushing the rock up to be happy वो खुश है वो उस struggle में खुश है हमें भी अपनी struggles में खुश रहना है even though if it means कि uh, the next day the rock will come down no problem pick up the rock again keep pushing because you're not alone in doing that and you're not doing to save the planet like I said you're doing for your own integrity and the daily push matters every day when Sisyphus did that it mattered small acts repeated daily shifts the system you may be thinking from at an individual level अरे यार ये करने से क्या होगा but something is happening at the background और सब कर रहे हैं आप ही नहीं कर रहे हो अगर आप 5 लोगों को अपने हैबिट्स की वजह से इन्फ्लुएंस कर पाओ तो वो 5 लोग 25 I mean it's a cliched thing but ऐसे ही एक्सपोनेंशियल ग्रोथ होता है प्रकृति रक्षति रक्षता nature protects if she is protected this is the also the tagline of Ministry of Environment and it is so true nature protects if she is protected think about it so do we have any questions
I think Shikha has raised her hand. Yeah.
okay
You may unmute yourself or you can ask in chat box, whatever you're comfortable with.
oh my god I can't read the okay questions tree sorry is Shikha asking on the chat box
Yutuheen has asked on the chat box.
Okay. Is there a clear time, say a number of years? Is there a clear timeline, say a number of years, within which we must act decisively to avoid irreversible environment and climate consequences? Okay. So, Tuhin, there is not a clear timeline, but there is something else that we have put a target. Uh, that target, we as in, I am talking about countries here, we are not talking about individuals here. That is the target for net zero. Now, it's another concept in climate sciences, and now the latest kind of the discussions that are coming at an international level. So, जो countries हैं, they have given अपने आप को एक target of going net zero. Apart from countries, companies have also given, but ये start हुआ है at a global level by countries coming forward. And by net zero, what they mean is that उनके जो net emissions हैं, they are zero, not their total emissions. That is not possible because we cannot sustain if we don't emit. But their net emissions, that means वो जितना emit कर रहे हैं उतना वो किसी तरह से compensate कर रहे हैं. मतलब जहाँ पे कार्बन एमिशन हो रहा है या कोई और गैस जीएचजी गैस का एमिशन हो रहा है, वहीं पे कहीं और उसको हम उसके लिए हम एक सिंक भी क्रिएट कर रहे हैं. We are trying to compensate for those emissions. So those targets have been given by individual countries. Sometimes they, in a lot of companies have also given these targets, but they're all contributing towards the net zero target. India has given a net zero target of 2070. US and a lot of European countries have given, EU as a whole has given the net zero target of 2030. Uh, some developing countries other than India, they have given a target of 2050. So there are, depending upon their developmental uh, phases where they are. Because look, हम लोग अभी still we are at the stage of development. We are not developed like probably a country like US or France, Germany. So सबका एक अलग capacity है to contribute to that target, and hence the timeline. There is no timeline like what you asked, कि irreversible environmental and climate consequences का कोई timeline है. मे बी हमारे जनरेशन में ये हमको एकदम से नहीं होगा, बट आने वाली जनरेशंस विल हैव टू prepare some kind of a timeline in that way. Right? So it's a very interesting question and very difficult to actually prepare a timeline because there are so many factors involved. Uh, thank you for rethinking and inspiring to do more for environment. Thank you. Very nice. Why is renewable energy like wind, solar, hydro so expensive? Okay.
Thank you.
So uh, these sources are expensive. They are, I would say, they are not expensive in terms of the cost that is. Now they are not expensive. Like for instance, solar has come up. एक बहुत ही एक वेव ऑफ सोलर आ गया है इवन इन आवर कंट्री. बहुत सारा आप देखेंगे हमारा सोलर कैपेसिटी बढ़ गया है, एंड द कॉस्ट ऑफ पर यूनिट electricity that we are getting from solar has come down a lot. In fact, it is matching thermal. The reason why it is, I mean, अभी वो है cheap, but अभी वो accessible हर जगह नहीं है. It is, we are still very much dependent on thermal. मैं आपको सिर्फ सोलर का बता रहा हूँ. The reason why that is, जो हम scale up नहीं कर पाए हैं, because solar by itself is the sun, and उसका conversion into electricity is the material which is the solar panel, जिसमें जो elements हैं they are not very abundant. वो जो elements हैं, जो rare earth metals हैं, rare earth minerals हैं, they are found only at some locations in the world. And उसमें एक तरह से एक बैटल है बिटवीन कंट्रीज, क्योंकि क्या है कि सबको अपना सोलर पे कैपेसिटी बढ़ाना, बिकॉज इट्स फ्री एनर्जी, सन से फ्री, आप फ्रीली कन्वर्ट कर सकते हैं। सो उस पे एक कंपटीशन है टू टैप दोज मिनरल्स। सो साउथ अमेरिका में बहुत सारे साइट्स हैं, इन अफ्रीका ऑल्सो देयर आर लॉट ऑफ साइट्स। राइट नाउ इट इज at a cheaper rule, at a cheaper rate, बट उसका कंप्लीट एक्सेस नहीं है टू ऑल पीपल। जब उसका कंप्लीट एक्सेस बनेगा उसका कॉस्ट भी बढ़ेगा, और उसकी अवेलेबिलिटी, वो जो रेयर अर्थ मेटल्स हैं, उनकी रेयर अर्थ मिनरल्स हैं, उनकी अवेलेबिलिटी भी कम हो जाएगी। So then there is a competition, but it will become more competitive. Similarly, wind is very geography specific. उसको वहाँ पर हमारे either वो एक coastal area में होगा, or it will be जहाँ पे you will have that conditions where you can convert that where you can get that wind velocity and convert it into electricity. So it is, and then getting it onto the grid. So all these are very specific to the conditions, like the geography, the availability of the mineral, the climate per se, because if there is a cloudy condition, prolonged cloudy condition, आप solar नहीं tap कर सकते. If we are using water extracted from ground level, consuming water is okay. But if we waste water, that means the water falls back to same ground level and gets deposited. So can we call this a recycling process or a waste? Same for which we call as food waste. It gets decomposed, and same thing we use as manure. I'll just read it again. If we are using water extracted from ground level, consuming water is okay. But if we waste water, that means the water falls back to the same ground level. And yes, yes, absolutely. uh, जो पानी हम लोग, जो रेन वाटर हार्वेस्टिंग का पूरा एक फिनोमेना है, that is based on, and it should be promoted, I would say, that is based on collection of that water and reusing that water. Now the water can be collected either over the ground at the surface without allowing it उसको नीचे परकुलेट अब्जॉर्ब होने से पहले आप उसको कलेक्ट कर सकते हैं और रीयूज कर सकते हैं, या फिर यू अलाउ इट टू गेट गेट इट रिचार्ज इन द ग्राउंड थ्रू द एक्विफर्स, जो हमारे ग्राउंड के नीचे एक वाटर कनाल जो है अंडरग्राउंड है, उसमें आप उसको रिचार्ज कर देते हैं. बट आजकल इट हैज बिकम वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू डू दैट रिचार्ज ऑफ रेन वाटर ग्राउंड के नीचे, इन स्पेशली इन सिटीज, बिकॉज इतना ज़्यादा कॉन्क्रीटाइजेशन हो गया है कि वहाँ पर जगह ही नहीं बची है. बिकॉज आपको क्या चाहिए, आपको चाहिए मिट्टी, मिट्टी से ही पास होकर वो एक एक स्टोरेज, अंडरग्राउंड स्टोरेज उसमें जाएगा. बट मिट्टी तो है ही नहीं, रोड्स में वो रन ऑफ हो जाता है, वो बह जाता है पानी. सो बेटर प्रैक्टिस, more practical practice would be, and at an individual level, at a household level, I would say, कि आप रेन वाटर कलेक्शन ओवर द ग्राउंड करिए. मे बी आप छत पर एक रेन वाटर कलेक्शन का स्टोरेज यूनिट बना सकते हैं, एंड देन यू कैन रीयूज दैट वाटर अगेन. दैट विल बी ग्रे वाटर, वो ड्रिंकिंग शायद ना हो. मोर सोफिस्टिकेटेड सोसाइटी में एक वाटर ट्रीटमेंट प्लांट लगाकर उसको ड्रिंकिंग पर्पज के लिए अवेलेबल कर सकते हैं. बट इवन इफ यू यूज दैट एज फॉर ग्रे वाटर पर्पज, अगर आप उसको अपने गाड़ी धोने के लिए या टॉयलेट के लिए, टॉयलेट फ्लशिंग के लिए यूज कर सकते हैं, इट इज वाटर सेव. बिकॉज आप एक सोर्स से आपने दूसरे सोर्स से लेना शुरू कर दिया, तो आपको प्राइमरी सोर्स है विच इज द ग्राउंड वाटर, विच इज मोर पोर्टेबल वाटर. इवन इफ इट इज कमिंग फ्रॉम सप्लाई, आप उसको, उसके लिए आपके पास ज्यादा पानी होगा. So of course, I would say that water can also be reused, which is coming as rainwater. Maybe not recharged for groundwater, but used from the surface itself. Mausami Bhagavati has written, "What are some ways we can protect nature and preserve its beauty for future generation?" Oh, Bapre. What are some ways we can protect nature and preserve its beauty for future generation? I think all the things that we have today discussed are very important for this. I mean, this question actually sums up the presentation. कि नेचर को प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए हमें इंडिविजुअली सोचना पड़ेगा कि क्या क्या चीज़ें हम अपनी लाइफस्टाइल में, अपनी डे टू डे चीज़ों में कर सकते हैं। एंड जो भी आपके, मेरे पास सारे टिप्स नहीं है, आपके पास भी कोई टिप्स होंगे जो आपको लगता है कि इससे शायद थोड़ा सा मेरा कार्बन फुटप्रिंट कम होगा. That is also a way to protect nature. But before that, I would also say that you should start appreciating nature. Start thinking about it, and if you are a parent, start teaching your children. Try to show them the beauty of nature. Go to these wildlife sanctuaries, to these national parks, to your local zoo, and show them the kind of biodiversity we have, the kind of the animals that we have. So once you start relating to them, जब आपको एक अपनापन दिखेगा नेचर के इन गिफ्ट्स में, then only you can start thinking about it consciously. तो ये एक जर्नी है जो हम सब जिससे गुजर रहे हैं, but it starts from that you have to appreciate nature, you have to appreciate the beauty, the gift of nature. I hope I've answered that. मैं थोड़ा कभी कभार abstract हो जाता हूँ, but this is the first step I think we must do. Sanjana Kumar, how much of the climate change phenomena is helped by individual changes versus systemic policies? Okay, very good question. Uh, Look, systemic policies are something which is done by a few people who are at the decision making level. Now, individual changes are something that हमारे हाथ में है. So maybe it does not matter how much of this phenomena, मतलब किसका ज़्यादा impact है किससे, but क्या हम कर सकते हैं? We cannot probably help in influencing systemic policies very directly until unless we are at a decision making role में हैं हम हैं. Except maybe every 5 years we have our elections where we can vote for the party who promises. But for all practical purpose, individual changes ही हमारे हाथ में है. Very interestingly, हमारी country में there is no concept of green party. In countries like Germany, a lot of European countries में already there is green party and they contest elections and they win. हमारी कंट्री में ग्रीन पार्टी है. I did my Google search and I found a green party, but they are not actively in politics. They're not active in politics, and none of the conventional parties, the national level parties, are getting into the topic of environment and climate change. And I would say that is also because हम लोग as citizens prioritize नहीं कर रहे हैं अभी environment और climate action. जो सही भी है because हमारी अपनी अभी issues बहुत ज़्यादा हैं. मैं बोल रहा हूँ at a policy level. हम policy level पे नहीं कर पा रहे हैं because हमारी अपनी issues बहुत हैं. हमको अपने standard of living improve करना है. हमें ensure करना है कि हमारे future generations का employment निश्चित रहे. बट अगर आप देखें इनके भी सोल्यूशंस कहीं ना कहीं रिलेटेड है विद द एनवायरनमेंट का फ्यूचर क्या रहता है. सो दे आर कोरिलेटेड थिंग्स, वेदर वी अटैक डायरेक्टली फ्रॉम द एनवायरनमेंट साइड और वी डिमांड दी शॉर्ट टर्म थिंग्स, दैट इज अप टू आवर डिसीजन मेकिंग एट द टाइम ऑफ इलेक्शंस. बट व्हाट इज इन आवर हैंड इन दिस एंटायर chaos, one thing that is in our hand is the day-to-day things that we can do. And that has a much greater impact because, mind you, we are 1.4 billion. I don't know the exact numbers, but we are 1.4 billion. And if 1.4 billion today decide to make the small changes, I think the impact is there's no number to put, but quite a lot.
Sukrit, just a thing. Actually, we have, I really thank all the participants for they're really enthusiastic about today's topic. But just, we're running a bit short on time. Can we just take one last question in the chat box? If you can just go through it.
I think there is only one question left. Yes.
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's only one question from Arjo Jash. The climate vulnerability ecology. How are such individual actions helpful in the context? And can our actions help the urban ecology as well? Yes, of course. I'm not an ecologist, but people who study ecology, I'll tell you, I'll give you an example actually. A colleague of mine was studying behavior of dogs. Uh, you mentioned urban ecology. I would give you another example of this dogs का जो मैं बता रहा हूँ, this colleague of mine who was studying behavior of dogs, and she was working on stray dogs. एंड उसका एक काफी रेडिकल थॉट था जो हमारे को काफी उस टाइम पे लगा, बॉदर किया कि यार ये कैसा है. शी सेड कि स्ट्रे डॉग्स को खाना हमें नहीं देना चाहिए. And I was thinking to myself, but then they will not be able to survive. And then she told us, she explained the logic. She said, look, stray dogs are unlike domesticated dogs. I mean, this can be a difference of opinion. I'm not saying what she was saying was the correct thing. But stray dogs are unlike domesticated dogs, they are on their own. So their natural tendency is to look for food. And if we move that from their natural uh, their natural behavior, then they forget that aspect of their behavior. Hence, we should allow them to fend for food. Yes, we should care about the other issues, that is probability कि उनको they would be rabies infested or they could bite someone. वो चीज़ों को हमें ध्यान में रखना है. But as far as food is concerned, is something that they should naturally fend for. And by feeding them, we disturb the earth. Similarly, the same thing can be taken in other cases also, in uh, uh, other aspects also. From the fauna side, we have many examples of vertical forest that जो आजकल cities में दिख रहे हैं. I think Bangalore is a very good example where they are also going vertical for their in their residential areas. The forests, so along the walls of the buildings, they are creating a small patch of plantations. Singapore में already ये चीजें हो रही हैं. We are, I mean, it's a matter of learning from each other. Yes, it is essential that we look at the urban ecology because at some point, as our population is growing, there sometimes there will be eventually there will be this human animal conflict. Not just animal, we are also encroaching the space of forests. So we need to keep these things in mind when we plan our cities, when we plan our habitats. We have to not just plan our habitats, we have to plan the habitats of our fellow species, I mean, our fellow animal kingdom species. So uh, these are all points that we must keep in mind. Thank you, Arjun.
Thank you, Sukrit. Thank you for your time, your passion, and your valuable insights. And thank you to the participants also for engaging with us. As we wrap up, let's remember that sustainability isn't a decision, it's actually a lifestyle. So, as we end, can we have an online group photo? If you're comfortable, I request you to switch on the video. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sukrit, and thank you for Dibha to arrange this. You all have a great day.
Thank you.